4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks. I'm Snooks.
I'm Lovey.
I didn't.
Why do you always crack up laughing every time we start?
Because I was being silly. You said, look, you always tell me look into the camera. And so I was cheesing for the camera.
See what I deal with y'all on a daily.
It's better to me being like that than to be all dour.
Anyway, hey, so we're a couple that's been married for 29 years. Ooh. 29 years. Can you believe that?
That sounds so like we're so old.
I know, right? And we've been through some stuff. And so this is a podcast about marriage, of course, but it's also about the things that we go through, the things that we overcome. And we bring you a variety of different individuals. If you've seen the most recent episode that we have for the Married into Crazy podcast, we're doing an interfaith marriage series. And so we brought you a couple last week. That was very interesting. The last couple of weeks that were very interesting. One person in the marriage was Muslim. The other person was Christian. And they talked about how they found their intersect and how they are living their lives. It's that kind of, I guess, information that we want to bring you. It's not just about religion. It's just about coming together, finding that connectedness and finding your way forward in your specific marriage. Because don't you agree that every marriage has its own specific DNA?
Yeah, I think so. Like every person does, you know.
Exactly. And your marriage is an organic thing, right? And it shouldn't look like anybody else's.
It should be an organic thing. But I feel like a lot of times it's not really, because I won't say everyone, but there are so many people out there trying to emulate something else, something that they saw on TV, something that they saw on TikTok or whatever. You know what I'm saying? If it's not, someone else isn't doing it or they didn't see it somewhere, then it's not a thing that I want to do.
Right. So marriages should not be about keeping up with the Joneses.
Because I was a Jones before I was a Kaysen.
And sometimes she forgets. But we all go through our stuff, right? So for those of you that are new to the podcast, we're a couple that we went through some stuff early on before we even got a chance to say I do. Mm-hmm. So we met, we were tricked into meeting each other. And once we did meet each other, I fell in love immediately. But Snooks, she's a slow learner.
It took me 8 days. Wow.
8 days. She's a little dense like that. But I won her over. And 5 days after we got engaged, first off, she didn't want to meet me, right? So again, this was a forced meeting. She told everybody I was a nerd. But then 4 months later, we were engaged.
Okay, but I didn't tell everybody. Yeah. You may sound, this guy, he's a nerd. I told my family, not everybody.
That was enough. People that matter.
Wow.
But 4 months later, we were engaged. And 5 days after we were engaged, she had a strange ex-boyfriend that would pop up like whack-a-mole every now and then. And that's exactly what happened. I whacked that mole. No, we got into it. He broke into the home, forced his way in, attacked Snooks, and I had to protect her. And in doing that, I ended up getting stabbed through the heart. Mm-hmm. Yes, through the heart. And so I had to have 2 open heart surgeries, and I did survive it, and we were able to make it to the altar, and we said, I do. And you would think that's where everything just got so much better. And yet,
4 years later, on our anniversary, at Morton's Steakhouse.
You even got to say that anymore.
Oh, you tired of it?
But 4 years later, she asked for a divorce.
I said I wanted a divorce.
And it was tumultuous. First off, I didn't, it hit me from left field. That just goes to show how unaware I was of my behavior and the things that I was allowing to impact our marriage. Well, we went through that. We navigated it. We went through a variety of different things. We did coaching. We did counseling. We bought a bunch of books that I never read. She didn't either, just so you know.
Wow.
She didn't
I
either.
read a couple.
She read like the back of it, like,
I don't want to read it.
I don't want to be married to him, and I definitely don't want to read this book. Look, but we got through that. And during that process, that's what we talk about in this podcast, things that we go through, how we get to the other side of the challenge. Mm-hmm. But along the way, we decided that we wanted to become that couple that we needed when we were going through our dark times. And that's exactly what the Married into Crazy podcast is all about. That's what our marriage coaching platform is all about. We teach on being crazy.
And crazy stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding.
Because in everything that we do within our relationships, whether it's about our finances, our parenting, our intimacy, our communication, how we deal with our in-laws, everything that we do, we can be more compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. Mm-hmm. We take those 5 pillars and then we layer it with some of the Gottman Institute training that we received for level 1, level 2 couples therapy. And blending all of that together along with our DISC certifications. I have 3 separate certifications when it comes to DISC training. We've got intermetrics. We have flight assessment. I had to think about it for a second. Flight assessment, and then everyday DISC. And it's fun. It's something that we thrive in, something that we love. But when it's all said and done, it's about learning our spouse, learning how to communicate, and learning how to hear and comprehend what's being said to us as well. And that's what this is all about. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and share it with a friend. So today we don't have a couple. We have something else we're going to talk about.
Well, we're a couple.
We're a couple. Oh, before we forget, by the time you're seeing this, it's going to be time for the Married into Crazy Winter Ball and Marriage Conference.
Woo woo.
So you still have a little bit of time to get your tickets. So if
Just
you're local,
smidge.
even if you're not local, we got people flying in from Florida, from Maryland, from Texas, from Arizona. There's people coming from all over that are going to be participating. It's going to be a great time. Go to the website, marriedintocrazy.com, so you can actually see what we're all about and what's happening. You don't want FOMO. You don't want to actually miss out on this. There were so many people last year that said, man, I wish we would have went. And they're coming this year. Mm-hmm. Don't you be the one that's going to sit around wishing that you would have been in the room as well. So you can see what's happening there. So I'm not going to belabor the point.
Okay.
But what's been going on recently? This weekend, we had a great session with some friends of ours that run another marriage group that we belong to, because people always ask us, what do you guys do in order to, not that they have to keep up and it's not the Joneses thing, but they're like, well, what do you guys do to actually keep your marriage fresh?
Yeah, so we do, like Lovey said, we belong to another marriage group, Intentionally Yours. Shout out to Cloyce and Sheila Dickerson. They were actually speakers at our conference last year. But we get together once a month, and it's a variety of couples. Over the weekend, it was like 19 couples that were in their home, and we talk about different things. This time we talked about resetting the we. I have the paper here because it was interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And it was really cool how they actually set this up. They're a great organization. They've got a platform, not just Intentionally Yours, but Married for Life Movement, who they're going to be at this year's conference as well. But from a vendor standpoint, reaching out, touching other couples, letting them know about their resources also. So somebody that we definitely stand behind because we're part of it, and it's enriching our marriage as well.
So one thing about Intentionally Yours is that, like I said, we meet once a month, and we just talk about a variety of different things. It is a Christian married couples group, so a lot of our things that we go through is rooted in Scripture. Everybody knows where we stand. We're Christians, excuse me, and we also believe that God is at the center ahead of our marriage.
And according to Snooks, she claims that I'm Jesus adjacent. So
No, because y'all know that he always talk about he is the 13th apostle. So I'm not saying that.
yeah, I'm the one they send on errands. Like he
that loses his way.
Oh yeah, he doing too
coming
much.
back.
Brother Ernie, go. Why don't you go get us some sandwiches? Go get us some fish and some bread.
Anyway, so what we talked about Saturday was about resetting the we, and that just means that we need a reset. It's at the beginning of the year. We're into 2026, and why not take a reset and just to get realigned with each other. A realignment of the hearts, the expectations, commitments together and before God. So one thing that they pressed upon is that when you do a reset or when you're in need of a reset, it's not about, oh, my marriage, something is wrong with my marriage then, because if I got to reset it, then, well, no, that's not necessarily the case. A reset is not, it's just getting back in alignment and checking to see, well, hey, how can we improve? What can we do better? And within that, we talked about the seasons. We've always talked, we have, no, that was chapters, but we know that every marriage is in a different season, and at any given day, any given moment, you're in a different season within your marriage. The seasons that,
and I was going to say, and the seasons are cyclical. Just because you're in one season now and you come out of that season doesn't mean you won't see that season again. Just like the world, there's 4 seasons, and they just keep rotating. And
sometimes those seasons seem to be together.
Some of them are longer than others.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like at 12 o'clock in the afternoon it's fall, and then at 8 o'clock p.m. it's winter or whatever, because there's a change. But I want to go through it real quick. The seasons are the honeymoon / new beginning seasons. And in that season is full of excitement, discovery, and hope. You're learning each other's rhythms and dreaming big. The building season, careers, finances, parenting, ministry, or goals taking center stage. Life is busy, energy is stretched, and teamwork really matters. Then there's the valley season. Illness, grief, conflict, infertility, job loss, betrayal, or burnout. This is where commitment, faith, and grace carry you when feelings run thin. The adjustment season, transitions like becoming parents, launching kids, relocating, or caring for aging parents. Roles shift and patience is required. You hear that? Patience is required. The refining season, old wounds surface, communication is tested, and growth is uncomfortable, but this season often produces depth and maturity. And the last season is the harvest renewal season, where peace, friendship, and shared history deepen. There's gratitude for what you've survived and joy in who you've become together. So we had a chance to, each couple, the assignment was, where are y'all at in your relationship? What season are you on? Initially, it was supposed to be we decide what the season is, but ended up happening, every person was able to give their perspective about where they thought their relationship was.
Because think about it.
In the season.
Just like when, in us losing our son, we experienced the exact same tragedy. Mm-hmm. And yet we both had our own narrative and our own way that we dealt with it. So even though we're together, just because we're married doesn't mean that we're going to experience things the exact same way, even though it's the same stimuli. And so it was kind of cool to me that when we went around the room, that everyone kind of shared. Like you had husband and wife talking about, well, I'm in this season. Well, I'm in this season, which is very real. Because even if you take a look at like love languages and all that, the couple doesn't have one love language. You each have your own. And it's a matter of, recognizing it, acknowledging it, and then ensuring that we're speaking to it or at least respecting it. Mm-hmm. Same thing goes with these seasons that were very different. Mm-hmm. Snooks and I, along with other couples, were different seasons.
Well, I feel like our seasons kind of kind of close. One thing that we did agree on, when we're talking about the seasons, I felt like it was a melting pot because at any given moment, like I said earlier, that season can change. It can change that same day. One moment I'm in the honeymoon, and then next I'm in the building or whatever. Week by week, it could be different. One thing that we both agreed upon, though, is that I felt like we would always pretty much have one foot in the valley. And the valley was the grief and, that part, specifically because of when we lost our son. That's always, and Lovey spoke to it after I spoke, but he said, because everything is a constant reminder that he's no longer here. It's so crazy too, because today there was mail addressing something about Medi-Cal or something for him. And I was like, why do we keep getting mail? I mean, this is going on 3 years now, but there's always that reminder. And even without getting extra stuff, our grandson is our reminder because he's here with us every day. That's the reminder that our son is no longer with us. But in dealing with that, I felt like, we did have some adjustment because we are transitioning again back from being almost empty nesters. We is that close to now we have to, everything we do is concerning or is around Zay. Who got Zay? We set our calendars, and that's one thing that I love about the girls. We all set our calendars together in our group text message. Okay, I have this thing to do this day. Who has do you need coverage? Or we'll put something down, and they were like, "Oh, okay, I got them." So it's a community effort within our home, and we're thankful and very grateful that the girls are actually still here and willing to pick up some of the slack.
Absolutely. It's a standing phrase here now. It's not daycare, it's Zaycare.
It is Zaycare.
To make sure that he's got his coverage, and we're respecting his needs as well. So it's a lot of fun, but we're firmly rooted in one foot is always, I won't say is always, I can't project out to the future. There's always going to be some presence.
There's always going to be a little, if it's not a whole foot, there's a toe, there's something,
That's always going to be in that valley because of the loss. Yeah. And the adjustment, it's not just the adjustment part, because I think that we're doing better now when it comes to the adjustment. And as we're discussing this, we want you to start thinking about, where am I at? Mm-hmm. What will my spouse say that he or she is at as well? I think this is a great conversation to have within your homes, to sit there and start talking about, I heard this podcast, and better yet, I hope you guys are watching this together, to where you can actually sit down and have this discussion about, where are we? And it's not about comparison. It's not, and you don't have to be synced up, but I do believe that you need to know where each other are at, so there can be a level of respect for where that person is at as well. And it also lends itself to understanding why maybe there's some miscommunication, why there's hits and misses, and why maybe you see the same thing, but you both interpret it differently. Whatever season you're in is going to really have a strong influence over how you respond to certain things. Mm-hmm. And so even though we're going through the adjustment part, I think last year was a huge adjustment. Childcare, school, after school, before school, all these different things that were going on, and then job shifting. Even the way that I operate when it comes to my job, that had shifted dramatically, because when I got my promotion and I was working in this capacity, we didn't have any considerations in that respect. And now there's that, okay, we got, in the back of my mind, it's like always, I can set up these meetings, I can be out in the field, I can go here, I can go there, but it's always that, got to make sure that Zay has his coverage as well. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, there's the refining period. I feel like we're getting more into that refining. I think that was one of them. Yeah, the refining season, which actually speaks specifically to, it says old wounds, but communication is tested and growth is uncomfortable. But this season often produces depth and maturity. And I feel like there's a lot of refining, at least for me personally, because the growth that I'm going through is extremely uncomfortable, because I am not raising Zay in my approach the way that I have actually worked with our 3 children. it's very different. And that growth is uncomfortable because I have to change. It's not that he has to adjust to me. I have to adjust to his needs, which before I was very old school. And I'm not just making it about parenting. It's also recognizing that I'm taking input from other caregivers within this home. I can't just tell my daughters, oh, this is the way I want it done. It's like we have conversations about the best way to do things. I don't always agree with them. They don't always agree with us. But we always come to the conclusion we're going to do what we all believe is best for him. Snooks and our intimacy. There's a refining when it comes to how we're able to show. I can't walk around the house, buck naked. I couldn't do that before anyway. But
I could.
she could. But now she has to be more conservative in how she's dressed around the house because we have a little one.
Well, I mean, even to the point where you talk about intimacy, I mean, we got to be very careful because he comes in our room in the middle of the night. He comes in our room in the middle of the night. So I can't just be in bed with how I want to sleep. I got to make sure I'm all covered because I wake up and he's laying next to me. I'm like, oh God,
He walks in bringing his pillow.
He brings his pillow. Yeah, move over. So, but everything is like you said. It's adjustment, it's refining. But the good thing is we keep for ourselves. I feel like we are at a point where we keep the communication open and we talk about everything. Lovey knows me. I know him. I can feel when he's off. He can feel when I'm off. Like, okay, what's up? I'm like, nothing. Something's up, Okay, yeah, something is up, but it's not a big deal. Okay, well, tell me. So, or I'll say, I don't want to really talk about it right now or something, but it's not anything that I keep from him. We make sure that we have open communication and it's not you going one way, I'm going the other way, and I'm oh yeah, because I got blah blah blah. No, we sit down, we're intentional about what we're talking about, looking at each other. Okay, this is what's going on. This is how I feel. It's been 29 years, but we remember back to year 4, 25 years ago, basically, when I was like, I'm done with this. I want a divorce. And so we had to learn that it's not just about communicating. It had to be effective, because silence is a communicator, So in our seasons, be very aware. I feel like we should each be not just aware of what our spouse or our partner is, but where am I in this? Because that is, like you said, is going to determine how I'm responding, how I'm acting. And then if I could just reel myself in, okay, I'm tripping because I'm feeling this kind of way. That probably will solve a whole lot of other things that are going on. I'm tense because, okay, cool, I'm leaving you alone.
Exactly. And we have to actually understand that because we go through these things, you're probably asking yourself, okay, so what are the practical steps? So we've talked about this now. So we know that what these seasons are. So what are we supposed to do with that? And she says, have a conversation. Well, I don't got time to have this conversation right now because I got things to do. Well, this is where the check-in comes in. Mm-hmm. We talk about how one of the best things you can possibly, I'll put it up in the top 3. Number 1 is having a relationship with your maker, making sure that God is at the center of your relationship. That's always going to be first and foremost. But after that, there's a couple of different things you can do. Number 1, being open and being respectful to each other and having rules of engagement. How are you going to argue? How are you going to actually discuss certain things? But then also having the check-in. The check-in is so important because without a check-in, you lose touch with each other. And marriage is about connectedness. I know this all seems like it's very straightforward and common sense. But the reason why many people end up in divorce court or in a divorce lawyer's office is because of the loss of connectedness. Mm. You're putting so many things in front of your marriage. The kids. You're putting the job. You're putting your finances. You're putting so many different things. And rather than just making sure that you two are staying on the forefront of that. And by understanding where you both are and having these conversations with a check-in, that requires you to be present.
Tell the story about the podcast. The attorney?
Oh, so a friend of mine just turned me on to a particular episode of Diary of a CEO. It's a great podcast, and I love it. Stephen Bartlett's absolutely amazing. Someday I want to be as good as him when it comes to interviewing. But Stephen Bartlett, and I can't remember the name of the gentleman now. He's a world famous divorce lawyer, deals with extremely high net worth individuals. But there was something that he said that, that the check-in, people get lost because they forget about each other. And it's something that I'm going to steal. I'm going to carry forward even with our coaching going forward. He said, don't forget the plot. And Stephen Bartlett asked him, so what do you mean, forget the plot? He says, when you meet each other, there's a story that you're pinning together. Mm-hmm. You're writing a story. And then when you write a story, there's a plot to the story. And for most marriages, that plot, that vision, that thing that you're doing is something that you've talked about. It got you to the point where you got to the altar. It's the plot, the story that you were weaving together, and the desire to create this incredible storyline is what got you to say, I do. He said, but the challenge is we get into life and so many things get in the way that you forget the plot to your own story. And when you forget the plot to your own story, that means that you're also going to forget who the main characters are. And then you're going to allow supporting cast or supporting characters to become the main characters, or people that weren't even meant to be supporting characters move their way into the forefront, and it confuses the plot to the point where now you've got separate stories that are going on, but underneath the same roof. And he said almost to a couple that the number one thing that he was able to identify over the years was that couples end up in his office because they forgot the plot. By checking in with each other and knowing what season each of you are in so you can address each other appropriately, it's going to ensure that at the very minimum, you've got dialogue, and it's going to allow you to at least remain connected in the plot of your own story, because you are the authors of your own story.
Yeah. I think the challenge comes kind of like you were saying, the challenge comes when you stop talking. You go through that, I ain't saying nothing, he ain't saying nothing, hey, hi, whatever. And that's the extent of the whole conversation. So let me just say this right quick. When Lovey was when he told me about the episode with the divorce attorney, he was like almost super hyped about it. And I was like, first of all, why are you so excited about listening to this divorce attorney? Is there something that I need to know? He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, don't play dumb now, y'all.
Well, he deals with high net worth individuals. Look,
so we got
to get a lot more listeners. A lot more listeners before we can go there.
I'm safe.
You're safe for now.
Okay.
No, but the other thing he said, and the tie-in is that he said that we need to remember three things. You, me, and we. Because even within a relationship, you want to maintain a little bit of your individuality, right? Snooks accepted my proposal because I was being me. I proposed to her because she was being, basically, you were being you, me. But then when we come together, we have to be that much more focused on the we. Mm-hmm. We have to embrace the we. And this was a big part of the conversation that took place when we were all together for Intentionally Yours. And that was about making sure that we remain focused on the we, having that check-in, understanding that what the plot of this story is supposed to be all about. And that's what we want for all of you, is to really go back, listen again to the different seasons, have a conversation about where each of you are. What?
Go ahead.
No, so they don't have to coincide, but you need to be aware of where each other is at.
But also ask the question, what has changed in me that affects my marriage? Because sometimes we change and we don't recognize it, or we may recognize it, but we don't put as much emphasis on our changes that we put on our spouse's changes. Well, you don't do this no more, and you did that no more. And okay, but what did you stop doing? Or what are you doing now? So ask that question. What have I changed, or what has changed in me that is affecting our marriage? Marriage should not be adversarial. Is that the right way to say it? So we're supposed to be on the same team. So let's act like we are on the same team. I'm not his enemy. He's not my enemy. A lot of times in marriages, I feel like the spouses act like they're enemies,
And that's something that we definitely want to avoid. So the goal is that I remain focused on you. You remain focused on me. And then together we commit to being focused
on we.
Know your seasons. Get your check-ins in place and do it on a cadence. If you have to, it's going to feel a little awkward in the very beginning. Say every Friday, every Thursday, whatever it may be, or once every couple of weeks, set it up, and then you'll be amazed. You're going to get to the point where you're just checking in constantly. Hey, we good? What's going on? I talked about that in the TED Talk a long time ago, but it's one of those things that is required. But during your check-in, you can find out, hey, what season are you in? I think you're here, but let me know. Mm-hmm. And that would be fun too. And there's no judgment because we go through stuff, right? So don't judge and don't have an expectation that, well, you should be right here with me because we're going through the same thing. That's not the case. Mm-mm. You can have the exact same stimuli like we talked about and still be in different seasons. There's a lot of things that we bring in. There's invisible trauma. There's a lot of stuff that contributes to the seasons we're in. Sometimes things don't make any sense to one of you, but it makes all the sense in the world to the other person based on the experiences. We have shared experiences, but we also have individual experiences that contribute to our personalities and how we move. So I hope you got a lot of traction out of this. I hope you are going to go back, listen to it. But more than that, I hope you're going to share this episode with somebody that you care about, with another couple, with that individual that is, you know what? Yeah, this was a good talk. That's the best way that you can actually end up helping us expand the conversation, is not just by subscribing and watching and listening for yourself, but also sharing it with others, getting it out into your marriage community. The beauty of this entire talk tonight was the fact that other couples that we're in community with brought this to our attention and we had conversation about it. You need strong couples in your community that you're going to connect with as well, that are going to spark these types of conversations.
As iron sharpens iron, we as couples should be sharpening each other. We used to say that all the time. We need to get back to saying that.
I agree.
Because it is so important to have good couples around you, and couples that where you're free to say and speak what's on your mind and get the encouragement that you need. Not worried about, oh, he gonna put me down, or he gonna think I'm a punk, or she gonna think I'm tripping, or whatever it is. Because when you get around couples who truly love each other, you see the struggles. Like, I feel your pain, girl, because we was there 2 weeks ago, or whatever it is, But don't isolate as a couple. Get around couples that love to be around each other. Don't be with couples who can't stand each other, because we've done that before too. And it's like, we're never doing this again.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah.
We do that. But you know what? So hopefully take the words that we shared this evening. And if you haven't got your tickets already, make sure you get your tickets to the Married in a Crazy Winter Ball and Marriage Conference, because you're going to hear all about it for a few months. We're going to be riding that high, talking about what a great time we had. And
just as a, if you can't come on both days, there is a opportunity to come on one day, on Saturday. So
absolutely. And if you're at a distance and you can't do either, then you know what? You can actually watch it virtually as well. So there's different options to fit exactly where you are right now. We're doing our best to build bridges from where you are to the best marriage you could possibly have. So we enjoyed you. We hope you enjoyed us. And until the next time,
be blessed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.